Alderwoman Claudia Tenney has read into the United States Capitol.
Just want to say thank you. Wow. I'm the only one running on a national level. Everybody's running for their state or local office. Usually speak to you on both topics. 2 years ago I spoke about running for Congress, and then last year we talked about being in the Assembly again. And one thing I thought I'd talk about, because it's the #1 question asked of me, and because you're seeing just a little bit about the race. And you know me, I've spoken before this group before, but you're seeing a number of ads on TV. There's going to be about $4 to $6 million in advertising spent for this race. Mostly negative ads against me, and actually they're pretty much the same ads that were run during the primary season and last year, 2 years ago. And the #1 question that's asked of me is, how come you miss so many votes, and why don't you show up for work? And how come you make $400,000 a year in the state assembly? In case you guys didn't know, I make $400,000 a year. Just so you know. I've heard that a lot. So let's talk a little bit about the truth. And so I was elected in the state assembly, and I ran for office in 2010, and I took office in 2011. I've been there for 6 years. The pay is $79,500. If you're on a committee and you happen to be a Republican, you get what they call a leadership stipend, which is usually $9,000 is what I get, but I don't know what other people receive. It depends on what committee you're on, or if you're even on a committee. We get reimbursed for traveling from Albany to and from our home 1 time per week during a session week. So I have a full-time job as a member of our family business. I also have been a practicing lawyer. In 2010 or 2011, when I first took my first district, there was 18 towns in Oneida and 9 in Oswego. From one end of the district to the other, it was about an hour and a half. Redistricting came in 2012, and I was given the longest district created in the history of New York by about 100 miles. I mean, it's like a Senate district. So all that driving that I do, the 1,000 miles a week and all through my district, I don't get reimbursed for that. I don't get paid for it. But it takes me away from my business and my family and my home. And this is theoretically a part-time job. It's not indicated January through June, and then the rest of the time you do constituent service. So my first year in the assembly, I never missed a minute of session or a single vote. And I never intended to ever miss a vote, because my mentor in the assembly is sitting in the back there, Dave Townsend, who I think never missed any votes, except he missed a couple at one point. And it's not indicated, you know, we vote, just a little bit of perspective. About 12,000 bills are introduced in every assembly term. And in an annual basis, we look at anywhere between 1,000 to 2,000 bills actually come to the floor that are discharged from committee. Another factoid that many don't realize is that the assembly is currently 107 to 42. Technically, there's 40, would be 43, but we had a recent death from a member on our side. The Republicans are in the minority. I'm in the minority. And since 1974, there has not been a single statewide bill passed in the New York State Assembly without a co-sponsorship from the Democrats. Unless you're putting in a sales tax extender and a tax bill or a local bill, you really can't get a bill passed in the State Assembly unless you're a Democrat. So those are some facts. So never missed a vote my first year, second year, third year. My son graduated from the U.S. Naval Academy. I raised him as a single mother. There is no way that I'm going to vote on a bill that's going to pass 150 or 149 to 0 to miss my son's graduation after raising him. What we are committed to do when you've been excused from the assembly is to vote by a paper ballot, and that's what I did, and that's what every member does. I don't know if Don has ever missed a vote. I strive to make sure I work really hard to read the bills. I'm one of the very few members that actually reads the bills. I don't come out of the assembly session and go out to the bar scene. I go to my hotel room, or I go to Andy Goodell's office usually, or with some of my colleagues, and think of legislation that we can do. The next year, in 2014, so that was only just a couple of days, there's a few votes. And by the way, from January to June, most of the bills we do are actually passed in June. They tend to be one-house bills. They tend to be local bills, meaning they're bills that are naming a highway or allowing a local community to use a lever voting machine in a local election, for example. They're not substantive bills. We do including budget bills, I think we do about 40 to 50 substantive bills in the Assembly. They do many less bills in the State Senate. I have to say they're more efficient, not because they're Republicans, but they're just more efficient. And we have so many more members, and everybody's got a personal bill they'd like to put out. I also live across the street from my parents' house, the house I grew up with. I lived there for 27 years. My mother lived there for 52. My father died before my mother. I'm the primary caretaker for my parents. My mother became very ill in 2015, and I was racing up and down the thruway to try to be there at her side when she was ill. I was there for her. I missed I missed a few votes, but I missed a lot of time with my family because of the nature of my district being so long. Just think about this. It's 3.5 hours from one end of my district to the other. So if I want to attend a fire department dinner or honor somebody in my district who's a constituent, that's a 9-hour day. That's 9 hours, 3.5 hours in the car, go to the event and come home. So usually I don't get home till 11 or 12 at night driving up and down the freeway. So last year my mother passed away. They were picking on me in 2014 saying I was missing votes because I missed some partial days. By the way, I have a 96% attendance record in the assembly. It's not like I'm never showing up in commercial claims. I'm there a lot, and Donna can testify. She knows I'm there all the time. In fact, I know a lot of Democratic members and some of my colleagues. I'll look and say, your bill's on the floor. Where are you? And they're like, I'm home. So because they've been excused for one reason or another, probably constituent service or something like that, they are able to vote by paper ballot. Just want to let you know, I'm very committed to the job. I work really hard at constituent service. I spend a lot of my own money. All that time driving up and down the thruway going to my long district is all paid for out of my pocket. I wear and tear on my cars, 40,000 to 50,000 miles a year, plus the gas. So it's a real travesty that they're trying to distort my very good record, my strong record against corruption in Albany in this way. And unfortunately, because of the news media, a lot of people don't understand how things work in Albany or in Washington. And I'm trying to make that understood by everyone. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.